Okay, we're going to introduce our next panelists. This next panel is controlling the narrative, how Black-owned brands are pushing representation. So I'm going to welcome back Mona Lee to the stage. Eric Hayward, COO of Tally and Twine Watch Company, Inc. Dickie Camo, COO from the B-Suite. And Bridget Robinson, HR consultant and certification course facilitator, the Black in HR.
All right. So we had some food, we had some networking, and so it's now time for us to transition into this session. Listen, I had the privilege of actually meeting with these wonderful panelists a few days ago as we were preparing, and I know that this session it's going to be fire. Okay? More fire, like the Jamaicans say. More fire. So before we get started, I just want to give each of you all the opportunity to share a bit more about yourself and the work that you do. And Eric, we can start with you.
Yes, my name is Eric Hayward. I am the CEO.
You want to turn on? Yes.
Check. Yep. Eric Hayward. I am the CEO and co-owner of Tally and Twine Watch Company. We are the, I like to say, largest Black-owned watch company in the world here. Yep. We've been in business for about 9 years. This is our 9th year. And we've been growing 100% year over year, ups and downs. And just like the title says, like, we're unapologetically Black in the things that we do, who we are, and how we operate.
Well, hello, my name is Bridget Robinson, and I'm here representing the Black in HR, which is an HR organization full of Black professionals that offer a lot of professional development and things like that for people that are in HR. By day, I work as a director of employee relations, and I also have my own business, People 3i, that does HR consulting as well.
I like how Bridget is literally so humbling herself. Like she doesn't do HR for all these major. Anyway, folk, I'm Dickie. I COO, co-founder of the B-Suite. We're a new tech platform, AI HR tech that we're serious about building wealth for Black and brown people. We match organizations who are looking for fractional diverse folk with diverse executives. And I'll kick it back to you, Mona.
Humble brag. I already told you, and I know he's already acting up. He started acting up from earlier this week, but we're gonna grant him grace. So we are here to talk about how Black-owned brands are pushing representation, specifically the brands that you all own, and you've all had wonderful experiences. So during your experience, can you share any institutional barriers, such as racial stereotyping with your own brands? And what advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs in the audience on how to overcome these? And we're going to start with you, Dickie, because you already started smiling. So we'll go to you first.
Man, where to start? Institutional barriers as a Black entrepreneur. Did you say racism already?
They said racial stereotyping.
I'm going to start with racism. No, keep it brief, folk. I think there is so little that we have the power to, really, manipulate the systems of oppression. So we got to use the tools that we have to, get us forward. What we do at the B-Suite, honestly, is going to sound kind of manipulative, but I'm going to be full transparent. It's what's worked for us. We have a co-founder methodology. It's 2 people. We're both queer-ish, somewhere around the spectrum. One's a female, one's a male. One of us identifies as like a little bit more diverse than the other. And full transparency, that's what gets us through lots of doors. That sort of pushes the needle a bit. Sometimes people see me and they see he's a Black man, and we know, just like Mona said, he's about to come here and act a fool. So that's when we bring in my co-founder, who's a female. She brings on a little feminine energy, as they quote unquote like. And then sometimes, we tip the scale where she comes down and lays down the hammer, and I'm the person who gets to be, a little femme-ish. No, it's fine. I'm a sweet little Black boy. You can do business with us. It's okay.
Right. How do we go after that? Go ahead, Bridget, if you can.
I'm going to try. Oh, my goodness. Okay. In similar ways, I would say for Black businesses, it's difficult when you're showing up as your authentic self. Like, for example, the Black in HR, that name screams something, right? It could either be negative or it could be positive. And so what the Black in HR has done is decided to be bold in what that name represents. And in talking to the founders of the organization, their main goal was branding. Their branding was going to be everything and making sure that we backed up everything that we said in our branding. So even if you see the Black in HR being, put on your table as this is the company that's going to work with you, you know that from the representation and everything that you're getting top quality. So that's how Black in HR has kind of been able to break down some of those barriers, is making sure that we're standing 10 toes down on who we are, but we are delivering over, above, and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it's several layers to this. I'm going to talk out two sides of my mouth here. One is there's a lot of barriers. We found barriers when we were raising money. Last year trying to raise $2 million, and it wasn't a whole lot of money, but there were significant barriers that were put in front of us, and they're not shaped the way you think they are. Right? It doesn't look the way you think it looks. Right? Every time someone wants to help a Black business, it's always with education. Oh, you just don't know. I've been around for 9 years. I know how to run a successful, sustainable business. Is where I'm trying to get is growth. I'm trying to get to scale. Those are some of those barriers, and that new breakout to go from a multi-million-dollar company a year to go get another digit. Go get $10 million a year. Go get $20 million a year. Go get $100 million a year. Those are some of the barriers that we see. Now, second part of that is, we didn't raise that money, right? We did it ourselves. We pulled up our bootstraps. I looked at my pricing, look at my, cost of goods sold. I looked at how I was spending on advertising and who I was hiring and what things that we were strategic initiatives that we were investing in, and we cut down our operating expenses and increased our revenue and talked to the people that buy watches from us. Right. And that's how we took control back. And that's how we knocked down those barriers by having some self-reliance. That's a lot easier said than done. Right. It takes a lot of intentional fortitude and discipline to kind of get there. But that's how we knock down the barriers.
Great. Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
Before you jump, I just want to talk more. No. When they brought this panel together, what was most powerful to me was the diversity of Black folk that you see. And I feel like you got a really nice lens. I feel like, Eric, you touched on it the best. The words that you were using, the nomenclature, the terms, that market value, the go to market, the paying attention to my financial modeling, the making sure that my revenue modeling makes sense, knowing what these things mean, what series of funding. It's these small terminologies that are honestly some of the small hindrances that block us from getting through that door, if that makes sense. I feel like you added in the whole authenticity. We got to be our best selves, but also we have to make sure that there's an Eric on our teams like, oh yeah, and this is our valuation right now. This is what we actually can afford. We're burning too much, y'all. The churn rate's too high. So, we also got to make sure you got the technical skill set. And if you don't, get somebody in your team like Eric who has this knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right. So we're in the city of Atlanta, and Atlanta has one of the largest the highest rate of Black-owned businesses across the U.S., which is incredible to see. What impact has that had on the local economy, the empowerment of the local Black community, and representation in the economy?
I would say, for someone who, I live in Atlanta, or Metro Atlanta, for those that are technical, I'm in Duluth. So I live outside the perimeter, but I'm not a native of Georgia. I'm originally from Alabama, and coming here, oh my God, it was just amazing to see. It goes beyond just people want to be an entrepreneur. There's an entrepreneur spirit about Black people in Atlanta. If you have a regular job and you don't have an something on the side, you kind of get side-eyed, like you don't do nothing extra. Really? So I mean, it's a part of the culture. And you don't get that anywhere else. You don't even have to force people to go out and try to impact their community by, starting a business or even volunteering. That is who we are here in, Metro Atlanta or the city of Atlanta. And I think it has impacted especially the younger people, the younger generation coming up, because they don't have to fight as hard to really have that mentality. It's built in, and it's just developing the community more and more and more. And I know you can speak to that by being resident here.
Yeah, absolutely. Atlanta is a great ecosystem for entrepreneurship, right? It really is all the resources you need. The difference is everybody trying to be entrepreneur, right? That's the thing, right? And it's not even like scams. There's a lot of scams, yeah, definitely, yes, absolutely. But we are so much stronger together, right? Like if we can put these 20 hair care companies together and make a conglomerate, or we can put these 20 makeup companies or candle companies or whatever these companies are, like let's put our talents together and scale, right? Because we're so fragile, right? All our companies are fragile, right? You got $100 million companies are fragile, right? So the quicker you get to scale, the more resilient you become and the longer that you last. And the team and the right team, and not only the team that you have that are in your corner fighting every day, but people that are in organizations. The D&I person, I heard a question earlier about that. Like those are some of our biggest champions, right? This branding, marketing professional that work at Coca-Cola is like, I really want to invest in Black companies. Here, let's do a project together. Let me come help you do a project, right? Those things are most beneficial to the community than education. I even have feelings it gets funding too, right? At too early of a stage, right? I know companies that get money on a convertible note. That means you have to pay that money back in X amount of time, or you roll that convertible note into equity. You can't pay that back. When you can't pay that back, that means your company goes away, right? So it's those type things that where people are pushing a $50,000 check or $100,000 check or a $500,000 check down your throat, as you go operate, that's just gonna pay your salary for the next year, and you haven't really done anything to really like generate that revenue again, right? So all of those type things, I feel like we need to come out of like high school and now like get into like undergrad and grad school and really take our businesses to that next level and not just kind of still biting at the surfaces because we don't have that scale yet.
I mean, you're right. I feel like within Atlanta, the money's just circulating amongst just us. And that's creating that vulnerability. Like you have, like you said, all these different companies and everybody's saying, oh, I have a candle company. I hit, 6 figures this month, but it was just those people right here in the community. So you're spot on. I think that's the thing that's missing in the Metro Atlanta is that educational piece of, like he was saying, all the team members you need to have, all of the knowledge you need to have going to the table. Because, I've been an HR executive for years, and sitting at that table when you're talking about corporate America, if you don't know what a P&L is and you can't talk to the numbers and you can't add the value thinking through like the analytics and you can't speak to that, you're not going to get anywhere. So, I know you didn't ask what's that missing piece, but I do piggybacking off of him. That's a bit of a missing piece. Go ahead. No.
I'm touching you because you touched on it. I know this might not be, but the missing components, there's a reason why BYP came to Atlanta. Yes. There's a reason why everyone showed up here in Atlanta, because there's power here. I'm not based in Atlanta. I come back 4 times a month because I learn, because I develop, because I get to reach across the aisle. I get to work with people in my group. I get to meet other folk. And then this is the part that's going to be a little hurtful. I think to take that elsewhere, because unfortunately, there aren't enough people who are going to leave this room and be serious about, what? We should stay in contact. I'm real serious about scaling my business. We do have a similar model. Maybe we could work together to, I don't know, take a larger share of the market. I learned some things during my prototyping I would love to pass your way. We piloted a bunch last year and got to, $25,000 MRR. Maybe I can show you some of my things. There's not enough of that going on in Atlanta, which is why I was so gracious that BYP came here, because this is what's missing. Like, these are the tools, like the resource. I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep going.
No.
What did I tell you all?
We could talk about that part all
So-
day.
So we did, Eric, I love what you mentioned. You talked about scaling, you talked about leveling up, you talked about also, Bridget, that it's just the money's just circulating amongst, just the general local economy. So we understand the importance of a local economy, but we do know that we're part of a global economy, right? So how do we replicate this achievement across the globe?
Wow. I mean, that's a heavy question, and I look at international expansion, and we're an e-commerce company, right? So I can sell my products wherever, you can get the internet. And I do, right? We have some concentration oddly in Canada. We have some concentrations in Africa, not enough to actually kind of, really replicate that. We're probably having a tough enough time really grabbing hold domestically. Before I even go international, it's like, how do I replicate this in Chicago and get a concentration in New York and Houston and Dallas, where our concentration points are? But you have to, it's the authenticity, right? You can't fake that, right? We do things that other watch brands can't do. Like we have a collaboration with Tuskegee Airmen, right? Other companies can't do that. Our first real timepiece that the community loved was our Juneteenth watch, right? Like those things are just authentic to the culture that you can't replicate anywhere else. And you have to be very careful when you go into another place and try to input your culture or learn that culture to a point that where you can be authentic. So that scares us even domestically, but internationally, we've been in talks with, doing some retail deals in Nigeria. We're very careful about it because we don't want anybody stepping on our culture or how we do things and how we view things. So we make sure that we are very, very careful about how we engage in other communities.
Yeah, Eric, I actually want to throw this back to you. I'm gonna say two things. Know your competition, folks. Know your competition. I'm gonna say that one more time. Know your competition. And I'm not saying you have to compete with them. These could be your friends. These could become your allies. Very often the Google folk of the world sit on the board from Microsoft just so they understand, hey, what's going on? What's coming down the pike? Cool, let me go talk to my team about that. Eric, I would love to just hear you talk about, as you all, after you went to market and you've scaled, especially globally, because we're only nationally, what's worked for us is we have to have someone with on the ground knowledge of the region that we're moving into. We expanded to the West Coast. And people they move a little different. They're slower. But they get work done. But the efficiency rate, it wasn't my natural speed, if that makes sense. So it was really important for us to have someone based in Seattle to close this giant deal with this Seattle-based organization, because they understood real simply, like, oh, they don't come to work until 9:30 and they don't start work until 2. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I am drinking by 4:30.
But no, you hit the nail on the head. I was just about to say something that may be a little unpopular, but as Black-owned businesses, we've got to learn to trust. And especially if we're trying to branch out and have that same ecosystem of building Black businesses across the state, across globally, we've got to trust people that aren't in our faces, like you said. So even with the Black in HR, we have consultants and people that work with the Black in HR that aren't based here in Atlanta. Our founder is, and I was telling someone earlier, me and the founder haven't even really had much face-to-face time, but yet he trusts me enough. I come here and set up things for his business. I'm speaking on behalf of his business. I'm working with clients on behalf of his business. And yet he doesn't know me from a can of paint. But he understood when I brought value to the table and what I demonstrated, and he trusted enough. And so a lot of times we let our egos get in the way with business. And like we said, you need to put those companies together. A lot of times it's my idea and I don't want to share it with anybody else. You are not going to become a multimillionaire or billionaire, billion-dollar company on your own. It's just not going to happen. And so the opposite of being business people being able to trust, we've got to be trustworthy. Okay? We got to get it together. And it starts with our business intelligence. We've got to learn business. And I'm not talking about just what website to go to set up an LLC. We got to go past that. We got to really have true business acumen and get our heads up off of our desks and look around and see what's happening globally and start being able to say, okay, this is what's happening in Ukraine. Let me trail it back and see how is this going to impact the company I'm working for, or, you know, my business, and start making contingency plans, because that's how we're vulnerable. We have nothing in place to help us out when things are going to go down, but who does? Coca-Cola's and these big organizations, they have all of that stuff in place. So the way we are going to branch it out, we've got to be trustworthy, and we've got to start trusting our people.
That's real good. I don't want this conversation to end, and I know you all don't, but we have to go to Q&A. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, and then we'll fill some questions.
I'm kind of scared. All right, guys. So if you haven't already, again, please scan on the top right. But this panel session has been amazing. Okay, so we might only be able to squeeze in 2 questions. All right, maybe. Because y'all gonna talk, okay? Okay, so what advice would you give Black entrepreneurs striving to build their brands and make a meaningful impact while staying true to their values and stories? So that's gonna be the only question, is what I'm hearing.
Trust yourself, trust others, and do your due diligence.
Yeah. How to build a business and stay authentic to yourself and your values. And that's easy. That's the easiest part of business that you know what I'm saying? It's decisions that you make. If those are your values, right? Nobody have to tell you what you're going to do and what you're not going to do with those values. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too easy. And if you get too engulfed in trying to make money and get desperate, that's another thing. We be desperate, bro. I'm desperate right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm an entrepreneur, bro. I am. Right? And when you get desperate, you make desperate decisions. Right? Especially from a business perspective. If I had a full-time job and I was working and making $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year, the decisions I had to make on whether I get a check or not based on the sales that I had last week, right? Like, I'm gonna make a different decision on what ad I put out, or what relationship I have, or what, you know, business opportunity I get into, right? So those type things, having that cushion, having that, you know, not being desperate, allows you to make more informed decisions that's based on the values that you have, right? So that's one big thing. And we do, I say that, but yeah, we get our values challenged all the time. I'll give you a case in point. Black and Mild, right? Like Black and Mild came to us and was like, "Hey, we want to put y'all in our, you know," who knew Black and Mild had a loyalty program, right? You know what I'm saying?
I did not know that.
But they do. They have a loyalty program. Like, "Hey, we want to put your watch. Can y'all do a Black and Mild watch for us?" Yeah, my partner was like, you know,
I don't know about that.
I don't know. That's some money there, but you know, our Black folks very conservative. You know, and we can even take it a step further now, and I'll leave it at here. Is, bro, I'm gonna sell one day, right? What you gonna do then?
Yep.
Right, I'm gonna exit this company. Right, my job is not to slave for his company for the next 25 years and then hand it to my son to have him slave over another 25 years, right?
That's good right there.
All right, so how do we, as business owners, prepare our customers for that eventuality that those things may happen without you looking at me and saying I'm a sellout? But that's it.
So let me give you guys a something practical that you can do to get to that mind frame. So when we talk about values, your values drive your decision making in your business. They're not just colorful words on the wall or anything like that. So what I want you guys to do, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship or even in your daily life, write down 4 to 5 values. And then come up with some scenarios, do a scenario analysis, a bunch of what ifs, and then try to apply those values to help make you a decision on what you're going to do. If the value you're trying to apply doesn't make sense, that's not your value. Again, you don't want colorful words like my value is be a hero. How are you going to make a business decision of a value that says be a hero unless you try to rescue kittens or something like that? So what I want you to do is make your values make sense for you, for your business. Think about them thoroughly, have those what if questions, and see if you can apply that to making decisions with whatever that scenario is that you came up with. Okay? That's your homework.
So in summary, make sure you have a Dickie, a Bridget, and an Eric on your team, right? Thank you all so much for the opportunity for sharing with us on your own brands and what we can do as individuals, as Black-owned brands, as we are pushing representation and still staying true to who we are.
Follow Tally and Twine. Buy a watch. I'm
Black
a
and HR. Facebook.
shameless plug. Bro, I got shameless plugs. I'm an entrepreneur, man. Take out your phone right now. Look at IG or Facebook. Follow Tally and Twine, and I'll do the rest from there.
Thank you all so much.